Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about whether the Larze Augments are worth buying or not. Alright, so the very first thing I want to talk about is, of course, where do you even obtain these Larze Augments? There's really only two ways to obtain it. The first way is you spend real money or AC, and then you go for the extra AC support select, and then you hope that you get one of the expensive ones at 0.5% drop rate. However, the second way, which is the one that I recommend for most players, is of course purchasing it through the player shop. However, that requires people to actually spend money to scratch, and then they sell the items on the player market for some meseta. And as you can see, some of these are incredibly expensive, going for 26 to 27 million a pop for the Larze Def Parfait, which is the most expensive augment in this entire category. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys looked at that price and you're like, yep, Larze Augments ain't for me. You know, I don't even have 1 million, 10 million, whatever million, and there's no way I'm spending my life savings just to buy a singular augment. And you would be correct. The Larze Def Parfait is definitely not for everyone. You are paying an extra arm and a leg, like, quadruple the price for that extra 1% floor potency. So for the majority of players, you do not need the Larze Def Parfait. It's really expensive for what it does. However, again, for the min-maxers, for the people who want the best in slot, yes, you are going to have to shell out the cash for it. But as I said in a previous video, if you want the Larze Parfait capsule, so the all potency capsules, there are cheaper alternatives, such as the Ward Parfait. You can see this is 10 million versus the whopping 26 million of the Def Parfait, And then there's a Guard Parfait over here at 11 million. You got the Stamina as well as the Spirit Parfait over here at 13 million. So there are multiple choices over here for all of the different parfaits if you need the all potency. However, I understand that 10 million for a singular capsule is asking a lot for the majority of the players. So we're going to scroll down over here to the less popular items. As you can see, there are also Larze Def Mel Raz, which also give you that 1% potency, but only give you 6.5% potency for two different damage types or weapon potencies instead of all three. This is another way where you can save a little bit of cost. As you can see, you're paying 11 million, you're still getting that 1% floor potency. You're essentially saving 15 million, or you could purchase two of these capsules and you'll still be cheaper than a singular parfait. You still get the floor potency and you get the full 6.5% potency, but only for two damage types. This is what I would recommend for players who only use a singular weapon type or a singular class. A great example is, like, in my case, I should be using this because I only play Braver. I don't actually play any other classes, and all the other classes that I do play are tech users or melee class users. So, for example, I would probably buy the Mel Tech, for example. The Mel Tech costs 10.5 million over here. If I just buy 4 of these, I pop them onto my armors and my weapons, and I'm good to go. I only have to spend 40 million. Yes, 40 million is still a lot, but if I were to buy the Def Parfaits, for example, if I were to buy 4 of these for all of my armors as well as my weapons, I'm looking at 108 million for just 4 parfaits. So 40 million versus 108 million. Yeah, I would much rather just not get all potency and just get potency for 2 different weapon types that I use the most and just call it a day there, as I will be saving over 60 million meseta, which is actually that's a lot of meseta. But let's say that on your Akko Salia weapon, you're not using Fixa Attack and that you're actually using Fixa Fatale, which increases your crit rate. As you can see right here, Fixa Fatale 4 actually increases your crit rate by 21%. And I believe at Fixa Fatale 5, it's 23%, which is actually pretty significant. So let's say that you are rocking a Fixa Fatale 5 on your weapon, then spending all of that extra money just for that extra 1% potency floor increase might not be worth it. Even down here at 10 million a pop, it might not be worth it. You could save a lot of money by just going with the HP/PP. You can see here we're looking at 3.7 million. That's significantly cheaper. You can go with just the extra PP, for example, over here at 3.2 million. And of course, you could always go with the Ward versions over here, which is at 2 million. So there are cheaper alternatives over here that you can use that will lower the cost of being able to use these 6.5% potency augments augments, because 6.5% potency is still quite a lot. It will make you significantly stronger as you will deal more damage. However, I feel like a lot of people are really hung up on the Parfaits, and they're like, oh my god, my favorite streamer or everyone else is using a Parfait, all the min-maxers are using the Parfait, so I need a Parfait. You don't need a Parfait, guys. You really don't need a Parfait. At this price, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, I don't think 90% of the gaming population can actually afford 4 of these Parfaits and drop 108 million on whim. I think that's a lot of meseta, and it's really not worth it unless you have a very specific use case, such as, hey, you actually do use all the different weapons, you actually do play all the different classes. Then yes, it might make sense to use the Parfaits, but even then, you would only need 3 Parfaits and to throw them onto your armors. You do not need to throw a Parfait on your weapon, because remember, you can only multi-weapon 2 weapons together. You can't multi-weapon every single weapon together and make like a giga weapon. That would be funny if they did that though, but nevertheless, that's not available, so there's no reason you should put a Parfait on your weapon. If you're going with a weapon and if you really need the floor potency, you should be looking at the Larze Def Mel Raw, the Mel Tech, or the Raw Tech. Alright? But for everyone else, you should be looking at all of the other augments over here. These prices will fluctuate. I guarantee you they will fluctuate. So it is in your best interest to go down the entire list and just go check market price. And it's very, very quick. It tells you the market price immediately. And that way you know, okay, which one's the cheapest, which one should I buy, so forth and so on. Now, for those who have trouble memorizing the name, for example, the Larze Raw Tech over here is the cheapest at 2 million. What you can do if you play mouse and keyboard is you can Control C, and you'll see here it has been copied onto clipboard. Once that's been copied onto your clipboard, you simply head over to the market, you go to product search, and right here Control V, and it's going to post the exact name. You go search, and wabam, you can immediately buy it. Now, before you purchase these and you're like, oh my god, it's 2 million, that's so cheap, something you need to pay attention to is it actually has to be the potency type that you use. So in my case, if I bought this, it would be pretty useless as I do not use range. You know, I need melee potency as I do mainly use the katana. So, you know, please do check what potency it actually gives before you start spending your hard-earned meseta. And last but not least, which augment should you replace with the Larze Augment? For the armors, personally, I'm going to be replacing High Steerer Domina with them. However, that's just my personal preference. You don't have to listen to me over here. And then as for my weapon, I'm not entirely sure. I'm just going to find whatever has the lowest potency. So, yeah, unfortunately, they all give the same amount. So I'm probably going to have to replace probably Gland Gigas Maste. You know, I'll lose the 30 HP for that extra potency because I do like having that extra 7 PP and 25 HP from my Grand Gladius Soul. So yeah, I think I'll be giving up Gland Gigas Maste's HP in order to gain that extra damage. But then again, maybe if I don't need all of that floor potency, I can go with the Larze Augment that gives me HP, and then it kind of balances it out. Now, if you don't like the idea of replacing any of your high value augments with one of these Larze Augments, you could always hold on to those Larze Augments and just wait. Because remember, we will get an 8th augment slot. It's just a matter of time. I don't know whether we'll get it next month or in a couple months from now, but I'm pretty confident that we will get it within this year. So within the next 9 to 10 months, it's pretty much guaranteed that we will get the 8th augment slot. So if you just want to hold off because you're like, man, I worked really hard to get all of these augments on my weapons as well as my armors, I don't want to replace any of them, you know, it's perfectly fine to just hold off and just hold on to these Larze Augments if you're able to purchase them at a good price and just wait. It's not that big of a deal. And you know, even if you hold on to them, if the price is right, you could always sell them for a profit later down the line when the AC scratch goes away. However, just keep in mind that the AC scratch does not go away until March 12th. There is still quite a lot of time before the AC scratch actually goes away. So there's no rush to make a decision on whether you need these augments immediately, but I'm just telling you that there are cheap alternatives in case you do want that extra potency, but you just don't have the money. There are cheaper alternatives in order to just get the potency, okay? Special thanks to all the members for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me. Thank you again. But yeah, that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. If you did, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye.